Anybody watching my channel knows that I love growing up in the 80s, but let's be honest. The 80s wasn't all great. There was some things that kind of sucked about the 80s, so let's look at 10 things that sucked in the 80s. Welcome back to the Junk Room, everybody. It's me, the Junkman, coming back at you with another video. Can you believe it's that time? I can't believe it's that time either. Now, what are we going to talk about? Well, you kind of know. You saw the thumbnail. You saw the title. You saw the little opening teaser. So if you don't know by now what this video is about, by the end of it, you're still not going to know what it's about. Well, I'm going to tell you what it's about one more time. We're going to look at 10 things from the 80s that I just don't miss from the 80s, or glad I don't have to deal with anymore, or something that's didn't make the 80s as great as it should be. Again, the 80s was great, but there was still some issues with it. So I won't waste any more of your time, and we'll get right to number 10. As a kid growing up in the 80s, we loved watching Nickelodeon. Oh, what a great time watching Nickelodeon. But then about 7 o'clock every night, it would switch over to A&E. A&E. Why do they do that? You kids from the 90s don't understand. You're there watching Pinwheel. Oh, remember that? Pinwheel spinning around. Look at my pinwheel. Look what I found. What a great show. You watch today's special. Who can forget? You can't do that on television. Out of Control. Oh, wasn't that funny? Mr. Spock even had his own show hosting about making movies called Lights, Camera, Action. Oh, remember that show? What would they think of next? Oh, Mr. Wizard. But then, 7 o'clock, out of the blue, you're watching You Can't Do That on television, and then you're watching a bunch of men in tights dancing around on stage. You go from looking at moose to looking at a moose knuckle. Oh, you kids today just don't understand the pain of going from Nickelodeon to A&E. Why did they do that? Maybe it was just my town. I don't know. Here's another thing from the 80s when it comes to TV that really could tick you off. If you watch TBS, because they would start everything 5 after. 5 after the top of the hour, 5 after the, I guess they call it the bottom of the hour, like 4:05, 4:35, 1:05, 1:35. If you were watching Gilligan's Island and you wanted to turn it over to watch What's Happening, you were screwed, because What's Happening would be on for already 5 minutes, so you would have to stay there and watch Andy Griffin's show. And let's say you stayed there. And then you realize it's a color episode. Oh, brother, a color episode. There's nothing worse than an Andy Griffin color episode. Whew, sorry, Irish Spray, but they're not funny. I don't even know if they're supposed to be funny. One time I watched a color one by accident because I had a black and white television, and the whole episode was about Aunt B on a game show. You don't want to watch a color episode, much less an episode that's all about Aunt B. But you were screwed. I guess TBS did this so you wouldn't change the channel. Pretty sneaky, just like that sister that won at Connect 4. She was pretty sneaky too, just like TBS was. But it could ruin your whole day. It could screw you up where you couldn't get back on a schedule. And here's something else. How can I do this and keep this family friendly? It was very hard, at least on television, to see boobies, titties, breast. Sure, you had scrambled porn. You might be able to see a nipple here or there, but that was late 80s. Early 90s, your only chance of seeing some boobies on television, and that wasn't part of some kind of National Geographic. You didn't want to see them boobies. But if you wanted to see some nice boobies, you had to watch PBS. I know PBS. Ooh, PBS. But the Benny Hill Show. Every once in a while, you might see a boobie pop out. But it was a big gamble. I mean, on this hand, you saw free boobies. But on this other hand, you had to watch some very boring, unfunny British comedy. It was a gamble. It was a gamble. You're like, I'm in the mood to see some boobies, but I'm gonna have to see some very not funny British humor. It was a tough call. Sometimes you could watch it on mute. That would help out a little bit. And there wasn't no TiVo, wasn't no DVR, wasn't no running it back. If you missed the booby, you missed the booby. Sorry about that. You were boobied out. You were boobied out. Whew. Speaking of television, we only had 3 channels. Maybe 4 if you count that PBS channel. But 9 out of 10 times there was nothing worth watching on PBS. At least in the late 80s, you had Blake 7 on some PBS channels. But PBS, Basically, you had 3 channels: ABC, NBC, CBS. So you're saying, what about Fox? Fox didn't come around to the late 80s, and a lot of us didn't have that until the 90s. Yep, CBS, NBC, ABC. That was it. Whew. It was rough. What's the name of a show? I'm trying to think of a show. 3 shows were on and they were horrible. Let's say one channel had Falcon's Crest on it. Another one had Highway to Heaven on it. And let's see, another one had, I don't know, think of another bad show. I can't think of one top of my head. But they all 3 had bad shows. You were blocked out for like an hour if it was an hour show. Oh, it could really screw up your night. Yep, 3 channels. You guys now can get any movie you want at your fingertips. You will never understand the horror of only having 3 channels. And yes, Saturday mornings were good cartoons. Prime time, you could usually find something to watch, but you try to find something to watch between 1 o'clock and 7 o'clock. There wasn't much out there. There wasn't much out there. You might get you an old movie now and then. But, it was rough. It was rough. Let me tell you that. And here's something I'm not going to miss doing is that cutting up carbon copies. My dad would get a credit card. He'd get a piece of paper that had the credit card information on it. There'd be a carbon copy under it. And I would go, carbon, like Han got frozen in, but it was nothing to do with Star Wars. I think they just used that name to try to sell products. But you had the carbon paper and then another sheet under it was like a copy of the credit card information, and then there was like 3 of them. I guess one for you, one for the credit card company, and one for the restaurant or wherever you went. And my dad, man, he was like, he thought people was going to steal that carbon copy. I don't know if you could see anything on it, but he would fold it up, cut it with scissors, tear it up with his hands, make me burn it with a cigarette lighter, put it in a folded crystal can, bury it in the backyard. He was so worried. I'm not going to miss those carbon copies, and it would get all over your hands and make a weird sound. No, I'm not gonna miss that one at all. How about number 5? You couldn't find your friends. Sometimes that was good. Sometimes you didn't want to be found. And that was good when your friends couldn't find you. But let's say you wake up on a Saturday morning. It takes you about 15 minutes to walk to your friend's house. Maybe you cut through the woods, so it only takes about 10 minutes. You get there. You knock on the door. Hey, can V come out and play? V's not here. Him and Kyle went down to the bowling alley. Oh, so you walk down to the bowling alley. Now you got to go past your house, so you got to walk at least 15 minutes back to your house. Then probably another 10 minutes. You got to go down the hill, up the hill. You got to go to Papa John's. Well, not Papa John's, Papa John's, the pizza place. Papa John's, the gas station. Walk across that, and then go to the bowling alley, and you find out, hey, they're not there. Hey, they were just here. You just missed Chris and V. Huh. Man, can you believe it? They went over to Leonard's house. Oh, you got to walk over to Leonard's house now. They're not there. And then you walk back home and they say, hey, you just missed your friends. Leonard, V, and Kyle, they were here looking for you. Like I said, sometimes it was good not to be found. But the day you kids just pick up your phone and you see, oh, look at there, little Timmy Thomas taking a poop. You know where everybody is. You don't even know they're at home. You know what room they're in. It's crazy stuff. It's crazy stuff. Let's go to number 4. Oh, number 4. Number 5. I don't know what number I'm, to be honest with you. I kind of lost track of my numbers. Let's talk about TVs again. Okay. Summertime comes. No school. You can watch TV. You can stay up late, watch TV. Guess what? In the summertime, everything primetime was reruns. That's right. Alf. You already seen it. Came on earlier that year. Family Ties. You already seen it. It's the time that Mallory tricked Skippy into thinking she was hot for him. Poor Skippy. He never did get any Mallory. Magnum P.I. You're like, oh, this is the one where Ice Pick goes to jail and Rick has to bail him out. I've seen this one. It sucked. You had 3 channels and everything on was already reruns. You already seen it. You could watch some show probably you didn't like. That way you didn't know you already saw it. But it was rough. It was rough time. Number 3. As a kid, I loved going to Kmart. Who didn't love going to Kmart? Oh, you get that icy. There was 2 flavors. We wouldn't spoil like you millennial kids. 2 flavors, Coke and cherry. I always got Coke. It was my favorite. Now, sometimes the Coke would be out and I would get cherry and I'd be like, well, that's okay. That's my favorite also. My grandma would be like, I thought you said Coke was your favorite. I was like, well, cherry's my favorite too, but Coke's my main favorite. So, would have been nice if they had grape. I love grape. It'd be nice to have a new grape right now. But anyway, I'm rambling on. It was dangerous to be at Kmart when they flipped on that blue light special. Remember the blue light special? Every old gray-haired lady is going to get her, we call them a buggy, you call them a shopping cart, haul ass to that blue light special, buy whatever was on sale, even if they wanted it or not, because it was always a good sale. It was always like 75, 80% off, whatever it was. But if you were in the way when that blue light hit, because as soon as they turned it off, the sale was over, you would get ran over by some old lady. It was dangerous time. I do miss Kmart, but dangerous times, man. I've got some buddies that still have scars from the blue light special. And I don't mean just scars on the arm. They got them too, but I'm talking about the scars up here. Some of your parents never got over Vietnam. We never got over, I should say, a blue light special raid. I lost a lot of good men. R.I.P. Charlie. R.I.P. Okay, where are we at now? Let's go back to watching TV. Do your homework early. You're all excited. You're going to watch Alf or some show you like. And guess what? It's not a rerun. You looked in the TV guide. New episode. So what's the problem? It's a very special episode. Oh, Lord. I don't care if it was Facts of Life. I don't care if it was even in the 70s when Edith Bunker got, the R word. I don't want somebody get demonetized. Alf. Whatever. Punky Brewster almost burnt down a house, or was that Webster? That might have been Webster. I don't know. But every episode had to have a very special episode. Like that time Arnold and Dougie got their dingleberries dingled at the bike shop from the guy from WKRP. It wasn't even worth watching. Turn on different strokes. Nancy Reagan's on there saying, don't do drugs. Oh, hated special episodes. They were the worst. But let's talk about number one. Again, put yourself in the mind frame of the 80s. 3 channels. Again, we're not counting PBS or some weird UHF channel, I should say. 3 channels, 3 network channels. And guess what? Again, you did your homework. There's no special episode. You looked up in the TV guide. You're going to lay back. You're going to watch some Riptide. All right. Nope. You're not going to watch Riptide. You're going to watch Ronald Reagan. Or Jimmy Carter. Maybe the president wants to speak. Oh, God. And for some reason, all 3 channels will carry. You think one of them will say, hey, let's get all the views for people who don't want to watch this guy. We'll watch. But no. Maybe they had to. All 3 channels will have the exact same thing. The president speaking. That was it. Your night was shot. You're like, well, that's it. That was it. What really worse is when you watch about 40 minutes of it waiting for Magnum or Riptide to come back, and they're like, now we return to Riptide, already in progress. And then you see the last 15 minutes of it. They could at least delay it, but no, they wouldn't even do that. So for all you that thought we had it easy growing up in the 80s, no, we had some bad stuff also. I mean, it's not as crazy as it is today. I mean, you kids today, you start crying if someone calls you a bad name on Twitter. Well, tell me some things that you just will not miss about the 80s. Again, we love the 80s here, and I'm sure you do too, but there's some things we don't like. Can't like everything. So let me know in the comments below. And as always, thumbs up on my content. Subscribe to the channel. Talk again soon.
Hey, Junkman channel popping though.
Thank you, sir, for that unsolicited testimony.